And now the fun part. Oh gosh, it's so good. It's divine. I know I sound silly if I just tell you how good that is. I just think it's fabulous. We're going to be making some more vegetables, but this time we're going to do them on top of the stove. And I want to introduce you to a couple of vegetables. This is chard, Swiss chard. This is the green Swiss chard right here. And you can see it's just green. And this one is called red Swiss chard. And it's got the red root that runs up to, in the middle of the leaf. And you can see it's red and green. I have had people tell me, oh my God, I hate chard. And I said, oh, just try it this way. And they love it. They absolutely love it. So this is an awesome way to start eating chard, Swiss chard. And you're going to find that it's so easy. Basically what I do, and I want to tell you this too, it's a great hint. Whenever you're making anything, have a little bowl sitting on your table ready to put your discards in, you know, things that you're not going to use, you're not going to cook. I went ahead and cut off the stems here. They are perfectly good to cook and eat, but we're going to go ahead and take them off. And like I said earlier, I like to save them for juicing. So we're going to cut these up. Remember we used some beets a while ago, and we're also going to make some beets and carrots. I'm going to just go ahead and throw these beet greens, the beet greens right in here with the Swiss chard because they take about the same amount of time to steam. And you know, often I don't even use a knife on these. I just rip them with my hands, just like this. And if you don't want to take the time to get out a knife or anything, you can just rip your vegetables like this. I don't know if it's the best thing for them, but I just love getting my hands in the food. And it's really simple. Sometimes easier to eat, sometimes if they're nice long leaves, and sometimes you might want to break them up a little bit more. So we're going to break them up just a little bit more tonight. So I'm just going to take another knife and go right through it. Oh, I saved this one leaf. Okay, I didn't get that. So we just got a nice big pile here of cut up greens. And the way that I'm going to cook these is I'm going to steam them. Did we get them all? We did. So I've got a pan over here already going. It's a nice big pan. It's got a big steamer in it. Now you're going to see how much this is going to cook down. I will often eat one bunch of chard for my lunch. So that's how much it goes down. But here's a steamer pan, this big one. And you need a big pan because it cooks down so much, but it's so big when you start. And we're just going to put that right in there. And then we're going to turn the fire on. I'm going to bring it to a boil. And I'm probably going to let it cook for only about 10 minutes. It doesn't take long. Now, if we were using kale or mustard greens, they take quite a bit longer to cook. And we're going to cook those in another segment, and I'm going to show you a way to make them really nice and tender. Put the lid on this. And we're going to turn the heat up. There we go, perfect. Now I'm going to bring this pan over, and this is another way to steam your vegetables. And you can see that this is a smaller steamer. And these are great for single portions or for smaller foods that aren't going to have to cook down like the Swiss chard. Now I've already cut the beets and carrots. And the reason I'm making beets and carrots for you is a lot of people really don't know how to eat beets either. And my brother-in-law just begs me to make his beets and carrots. He loves beets. And I like putting these two together because they look good. They're the same consistency to cook. They take about the same amount of time to cook. And steaming them is great. If you don't have a steamer, put them in just a teeny bit of water, bring it to a boil, turn it off, and they'll be done in about 10 or 15 minutes. Just let them sit in that hot vapor, and they'll continue to cook. So while those are cooking, we're going to saute up some spinach. Now I know this is a lot of vegetables, but as soon as these are cooked, I'm going to show you a very simple way to dress them and make them just rich and scrumptious. This is clean spinach. I love to buy this stuff. It's already been cleaned and washed And this is baby spinach. It's not as chewy as the big leaves, but it's so simple. And remember, we want to make sure we get lots of good foods in our body, so we want to keep it simple. Now on the spinach, this is only going to take a couple of minutes, so we're just going to put that fire up. I didn't put it in a steamer. And the reason I didn't put it in a steamer is because I just put it in a little bit of water. It's only going to take a few minutes to cook. And then we'll just take it right off the fire and let it sit, and then we'll dress it. So that's it for our steamed vegetables. And we'll be back to dress them in a while. Are you ready? Now we get to eat. Or we get to make some food to eat. We're all going to enjoy it after we're done. Okay, all we did was steam the spinach, right? It just took a few minutes. We turned it down right after it got going. Now I want to tell you something of difference about using a steaming rack and actually just putting a little water in the bottom of the pan. I kind of like the juice myself. But I steam them often because I know, in the rack, I know that it's better than really boiling. This is really considered boiling your food when you put water in it and you cook it like that. However, steaming them on the steaming rack is the best way to steam your vegetables and get the most nutrients out of them. But a thing like spinach, it doesn't take very long to cook, so it's not going to be in the water for that long. So I go ahead and do it this way. Besides that, have you ever tried to pick it off of the steamer? It's difficult. So here's the way I love to eat spinach. This is Syrian pumpkin seed oil. Remember in the other segment how we ground the Syrian pumpkin seeds? This pumpkin seed oil is absolutely like divine, with a capital D. It is slightly roasted. It's nutty, it's thick, it's sensuous, it's rich, it's absolutely good for you. And it will take this spinach, any food you put on it, it will transform it or complement it, one or the other. But you just look at this, and I'm just going to pour this beautiful Syrian pumpkin seed oil. You can't really see very much of it, but that is all there is to it. I guarantee you, you serve this and people will go, what did you do to that? Now we can't go any further without a little bit of salt. We're going to take this beautiful salt and just sprinkle that on top. And voila, you've got a beautiful dish, just like that. So now I'm going to get the beets and the carrots out. They're right over here, and they're all finished. And I'm going to show you another easy way to make those. Woo, look at that steam. Isn't that great? You going to get those? I'm going to go ahead and put them into a dish. We're going to start off with the sesame seeds. You could do the pumpkin seeds too, but I love the sesame seeds. And we're just going to sprinkle them on lavishly. Just don't be shy. Give it a really good dollop. And the reason is you'll see that you're going to want a lot because it's going to turn into a beautiful gravy-like consistency. I'm using Barlean's oils here. Barlean's makes flax oil. And you can see there's a couple different kinds. We have Essential Woman and Omega Man, and then they make a plain flax oil too. I always order their high lignans, and the lignans are the little pieces of fiber that are inside the flaxseed. And the high lignans, they just create this great flavor and this consistency to the oil. The Essential Woman has some ingredients in it that are particularly good for women's health. And Omega Man has pumpkin seed oil, and it's Syrian pumpkin seed oil added to it because of its great nutrient properties, particularly for prostate health. Is all flax oil good for you? Absolutely, if it's Barlean's. And I'll tell you why I really advocate their oils. Fresh Express is what they use, the term they use, because when you order this oil, whether you call them directly or the store calls them that you're buying it at, they place the order then and it goes straight to the store. They press the oil straight to the store. It doesn't go through a distributor and sit on a floor somewhere. It actually goes straight to either to your home or to the store. And when you buy it at the store, there's a date on the back that tells you when you should use the oil, and it's usually within 4 months. So everything is dated, and they call it Fresh Express. Number one, flax oils are extremely sensitive to light and heat. That's why they're in a dark bottle like this. So then they're very high in omega-3s, and omega-3s are the essential fatty acid that has that sensitivity. That's why you don't find omega-3s in all the bleached oils that you see on the shelves of the supermarkets, or olive oil for that matter. Olive oil has more omega-9s and 6s. So any kind of oil or any seed, even walnuts, that has a high amount of omega-3s, then it's going to have much more sensitivity to light and heat. Therefore, the reason for the date on the back, therefore the reason for the Fresh Express, and therefore the reason for the dark bottles and the refrigeration. So if you want to get an abundant amount of omega-3s and do it in a vegetarian way with a great taste, this is the way to do it. I like to use both of these oils. This one has the pumpkin seed flavor, and even though I'm a woman, it's really fine for me to eat this oil. And I like the variation of the taste. And it's actually fine for men to eat this oil too, because some of these nutrients in these functional foods are so powerful. I mean, remember when I mentioned that pumpkin seeds were used for medicinal reasons? They were actually a medicine before they really realized they were a food. So these are so powerful that they began marketing them as supplements. But when I discovered them as a food, I realized that they were really much more than a supplement. They are a great food. And you don't have to worry about eating too much of them, because you really can't. Your body won't let you. So it's not like you're taking too much of a pill or anything like that. This is just a great food source. So I'm going to take this oil, and it's in a nice squirt top, and I'm going to take it and just squirt it all over the top of these beets and carrots. And I like to put at least, in a big dish like this where 2 or 3 people might eat it, you might want 2 or 3 tablespoons. And then, because we like a salty flavor, this is tamari. This is wheat-free, organic of course, and it's low sodium. It's not quite so salty. Tamari is like a soy sauce. It has a yummy flavor. But you want to be careful not to use too much, because if you use too much, it will overpower the dish. You could use namashoyu, you could use soy sauce. There's lots of different things you can use. And you just want to sprinkle that on, but be just a little bit lighter. And there you go. Now, if you want to mush it around, you can. You just take it kind of and just mix it slightly and serve it like it is. And I don't like to toss it, because for some reason I don't know, it just does something to it. But if you just kind of smush it around, the flavors just mold together, and this makes a very rich gravy. So there's another one. And now I'm going to make the Swiss chard. Okay, this is the dish that launched my career in cooking. And I'm going to put it in a glass dish so that you can see what it looks like. This is what I used to take to potlucks all the time. And it was so much fun, because I would just throw it together. I'd go get a couple of bushels of Swiss chard at the store. I'd clean them, break them with my hands, throw them in a little bit of water, a steamer, and then put them in the pan, add my oil and my seeds and my tamari, and I would take it to the potluck, and everyone would say, "What is that dish over there? What is that?" And everyone started approaching me. And it's my signature dish, so to speak. And it's so simple. I used to say, well, don't be silly. It's you know, I can't write a cookbook on Swiss chard. And they'd say, but it's so good. But it is what started everything. And I realized that these oils just have such a beautiful flavor that it seemed to wake up people's taste buds. Like, where I've never tasted this before. And it would feel so wholesome, just wholesome to them, that it was part of what they liked about it, not to mention that it tastes good. Because, you know, a food has to resonate with you. It's got to just resonate with your being, and after you eat it, you want to feel good. You don't want to feel full or sluggish. You want to feel light and fed. And that's what's wonderful about these oils and all the foods I'm showing you today, because you will not be able to overeat them. So I'm going to do the same thing with this dish, and if you wanted to, we could have used the pumpkin seeds on this one. That would have been nice. So on this particular dish, I'm going to use the sesame seeds again, because it's so pretty on the green, and I love the flavors together. You know, I even have a friend that says she'd never eat Swiss chard, and when I told her about this, she said I was actually making her sick. So I said, come home and let me make it for you. And I sauteed a couple of eggs, and we made this for her for breakfast, and she ate every single bit of it and loved it. So in this one, I'm going to use the Omega Man because we're going to get that little pumpkin seed flavor. And again, I'm going to squirt it. And I don't want you to be shy, you know, and don't worry about the fat content. It's not going to be too much fat for you because you're not going to be eating this whole dish. Now, the reason this isn't squirting out is because of the lignans. And the lignans are those fine little pieces I was telling you about, and they've just gotten kind of stuck in there. So I'm just going to open it up. Now, if you're not sure about squirting it, you think you might squirt too much, just go ahead and pour it, take off the top and pour it into a tablespoon and drizzle it on like that. And this one, again, we're going to use a slightly smaller amount of tamari. And the reason is because we're all going to be eating this, and I don't want to have too much tamari flavor. What I'd like to have is a little bit of the Celtic sea salt. So we'll just put a little bit of salt on that. And there you go. And this is a great dish to take to a potluck or to a family gathering or to Thanksgiving dinner or any holiday. So there we have 3 beautiful dishes. And that's it for our simple sauce. In our next segment, we're going to work with coconut oil, and I'm going to make some delicious sauces and dressings that have a little bit more complex recipes. But enjoy. Was that simple or what? Was that easy? Just pour it on and eat. Hi, and welcome to our vegetable segment, or at least part of our vegetable segment. We want to take a moment here and show you what we're doing with some winter squashes, some potatoes, and some other vegetables. Remember when I said it's all about easy? Well, this is the part that's easy. You know, all you have to really do is cut these vegetables up, put the squash and a little bit of water, and stick them in the oven while you do something else. Or if you want, you can put them in a pan with a little bit of water and one of the steamer plates, which we'll show you in a little while. But basically, we're going to put these in at about 350 degrees, for like about a half hour. Sometimes these cook so fast and sometimes they take a little longer, but you'd be surprised how fast squash cooks. Now, I also wanted to show you what I did with the beet greens. If you can see here, these beets, we just cut the greens off the top. These are the extra pieces, and I always save these to put them in a juice. If you're juicing, and if you're not, you should be, because this is a great food. And you can chop them up and cook them too. Now what we did is we took the beets off. I left the little pieces on the top so that we might even be able to use them as a dip. I'm just giving you different ideas. We're going to bake some sweet potatoes, a red rose potato, some beets, and I'm going to take some carrots, fresh out of the earth. All we've done is, really washed them good and scrubbed them with our hands, broken the tops off, and we're going to put these right on the tray here just to bake. Now you're going to see when these come out, they're not going to look the greatest. But the point is it's simple, and they're going to cook through, and they're going to be really yummy, especially when you see some of the sauces that we're going to put on them. So that's it for now. I'm going to put these in the oven, and we'll get started on a few other things. I want to show you another way to use that delicious sesame flax oil blend. You probably would have never thought to put it on a sweet potato. And as you know, we baked some vegetables earlier, and we baked some squashes, and we're going to be working with those, and I'm going to introduce you to coconut oil in the next segment. But for now, with this particular sweet potato, or this, I think this is a yam that we put in the oven, this is a jewel for you to try. Now, I know a lot of people love butter on their yams, and if you're going to have butter, then that's a great way to enjoy yams or any kind of potato. But, you know, we can go beyond butter, and we can go beyond olive oil, and that's what's the fun of this, is to try some new nutty flavors. I have made this potato for a few people, and again, I just get that great reaction, and I think it's due to the wonderful ingredients that we're going to put on top of it. And there's something about the way they blend together. I don't know what it is, but it works. So I'm just going to smush it, and you don't have to smush it all down, but I love to smush my potatoes because that's the way I get the best flavor for them. We're going to do the same thing to this food. We're going to take the sesame seeds, and we're going to sprinkle them lavishly on top. Just like that. And then we're going to, this time I'm going to use the high lignin flax oil, just the plain one. I'm going to shake it up. Many times the lignans get stuck on the bottom because they sit for a while like that. And so you want to shake it quite a bit in order to get the lignans to get loose and so that you can enjoy them on the oil. Now I'm going to squirt this one. I think I better do that. It'd be a little safer, otherwise I'm going to dump this whole bottle in there. There we go. And just sprinkle that back and forth, pour it, squirt it, give it a good douse. And for this one I want to use the Flower of the Ocean. I don't need this anymore. Sea salt. I'm just going to take off the top and put my hands right in there. Now look at the difference in the granulations of this one. Remember I told you it was in between the large crystal and the small? This is what makes this dish. Because what happens is you get this sweetness from the yam, and then you get this nuttiness from the oil and the sesame seeds, and they blend together, and then you get this burst of salt, and it's absolutely divine. And that's really all there is to it. Now, I'll tell you what I do with this. I pack and go a lot with this. I will either take the sweet potato or the yam, either one. I love them both. Pull them up together, wrap them in a piece of foil, or actually put them into a dish to take with me, and I can eat it whole just like it is. Or you can go ahead and dress it like this, mush it up together, and do the same thing. Put it in a dish and take it to go. If you're at work or out and about 2 or 3 hours later, it's really very good to eat. I know that may not sound like it's safe or anything, but you can leave food for like up to 4 hours. So this is a great pack and go. I've often taken it on airplanes with me, and you'd be surprised how good it is. So enjoy. This is a great alternative to another way of making yams. Oh, and incidentally, if you want to take them to a party or a potluck, then you could cut them up. You could skin them, cut them up and put them in a glass dish and do the very same thing to them. So easy. You just bake them, cut them up, put them in the dish, sprinkle the seeds over, squirt the oil over, and sprinkle the salt on top. Delicious meal. This is going to be a very quick little, more like an idea for you. We wanted to show you how wonderful some of these oils are on top of winter squashes. And I don't know about you, but I'm like gaga over these things. They are so delicious, and particularly, you know, even in Hawaii, where I live, it can get hot, and yet we have beautiful squashes. And so we do have a winter. It's not much of one compared to where we are now in the Northwest, but we definitely have a winter. So every now and then I just crave these kind of foods. And again, you don't have to be complicated about it. It's a wonder I haven't put coconut oil on every single thing we've made, but I wanted to show you that I don't think that there's anything much better than coconut oil on these. I think that we overcooked these a little bit. We baked them in the oven. Very simple. Cut them in half, lay them down a little bit of water, cover the dish with foil, and put it in the oven and just let it bake itself. You'd think that they might take long like a baked potato. They actually take quite a bit less time. And you can also steam them in a pot as well, which we're going to do. We have some leftover vegetables, and we have, you know, a little bit more squash, and we're going to blend it up in a soup after we just show you this. So because this is kind of well done, often I just take the squash itself and smush it like a baked potato or smush it like a yam, and I'll put the coconut oil on it, the great sea salt, and that's it. I mean, that's it. You won't believe how good it is. But because these are kind of already smushy. We're going to go ahead and make a full dish out of it. Now you can add a lot of herbs to this if you want. Curry would be great, maybe some cumin. But we're just going to put it together like this with some coconut oil. And we took the coconut oil because you know we're up in the northwest here. It's been quite cold and the coconut oil's been hard. So we just barely turned on the pan just to warm it. That's all we had to do, and this coconut oil melted instantly. Oh, by the way, when you're working with this coconut oil, as we've showed you many times, it can get hard because it's saturated fat and it gets solid at room temperature. But if you just put it in your hands, just your body heat will melt it instantly. I use it on my hands. I use it as a cream often when I'm in the kitchen because I always have a jar of it like this just handy to dip into. But we went ahead and put a little bit in a pan here to get it nice and liquid. I don't want to put too much. You can't use it for salad dressings if it's cold out because it would be hard. It won't stay liquid. Otherwise, I'd probably put it on everything because this coconut flavor just adds oh, I wish you could smell it. The smell of the coconut blending with the warm potatoes is bringing the essence and the aroma out of the oil, and it's fabulous. Now, we're not going to put the curry powder in, but I just wanted to get it out here to show you that it might be a really nice idea. And again, I'm going to taste it. This is what you should take to Thanksgiving dinner or to somebody's house, again for a potluck, because they're going to ask you what you put in the potatoes. And you're going to say coconut oil, and they're going to go, what? Coconut oil? I'm just going to put a teeny bit more, but you know, I don't know that it really needs it, but you know me. I like a lot. So that's it. I'm going to put some salt on it. I'm going to put it on a serving dish right here and make it look beautiful. But another great thing to take to someone's home and introduce them to something new. And you know, the coconut oil we've been using has a coconut flavor to it. You can buy coconut oil that has had the flavor taken out of it, and you'll get all the benefits of what the coconut oil has for your body. It's antiviral, it's antibacterial, and it's a very powerful food on many different levels. And so if you want to buy it, without the aroma and the taste of the coconut flavor, you can. I personally don't, because I love the flavor, and it isn't too coconutty for me. It actually translates into a fabulous food. It just seems to complement so many things. And that's what I'm wanting to show you here, some of the things that it's fabulous on. So I'm just going to put these back out of the way. I'll wipe my hands. You think we should put some maple sugar on it? I can't seem to help myself. Just a little. Now, if you wanted to, ahead of time, you could actually mix the coconut oil with a little honey or something sweet if you wanted. These things are really sweet already. But I'm just going to put just a little on the top because you'll get a bite in that little burst of that mapley flavor. Not much, just a little. And what would it be without the great salt? And this is the way I love to use the salt. I don't cook with the salt. Again, we use it on top. It's a la salt. You could put some mineral mixture on this. I don't think I'm going to because I think this just tastes so good, just like it is. There you go. Try this. You'll enjoy it. What I have here is a yellow rose potato and just a white russet, a regular russet, organic of course. And I'm just cutting it up in some small pieces. When I get the hankering for a potato, this is often the way I make it. And I'm just showing you another variation. It's an a la oils kind of technique. It's about putting the oil on afterwards. These are great with butter, and you know we have some of that wonderful butter too from organic pastures, and everybody loves butter on potatoes. But if you want something different, this is a great way. I was taught this by a wonderful Italian chef in Boulder, Colorado when I lived there. And he would take this olive oil. Italians eat olive oil on everything. And so they would take a huge pot of roasted potatoes and then just toss them and toss them and toss them in olive oil. And I just loved it, and I never thought of putting olive oil on potatoes like that. Of course you do when you roast them, you know, you might coat them with them and bake them, the little pieces, but not a tossing like this. So then I was telling you about this Ayurvedic doctor that I met, and he made potatoes one night. We didn't have anything to eat at home, and so he rustled up some potatoes, he boiled it, and then we did the olive oil thing, and then he said you should have something kind of stringent in it. And so I like a lot of oil on potatoes because potatoes are starchy and they're just best when they're all greased up. So I'm going to just, okay, so we have something baking in the oven. Now if you just continue to toss these and you only put salt on them, they're great just like that, just like that. But if you have an herb on hand, whether it's basil or cilantro or parsley, sprinkle that in there too because that'll give you that extra little bite. Now I happen to love the parsley on the potatoes, so I'm just going to sprinkle those in there like that. This would be great with the mineral mixture because that will give you a great salty version. But in order to get the 5 tastes of the Ayurvedic tradition, we're going to put some unusual things on these potatoes. You may not like it, but it might be fun to try, and it'll expand your creativity. A lime. I'm going to cut a lime, and I am going to squeeze a little bit of lime on this. You won't believe really how good these are. This is something I love to have for dinner. I like to eat starches at night. They kind of make you a little more full, a little more tired. Having my big protein meal in the middle of the day, but a nice warm starchy food at night is great. Now I'm going to take some maple syrup, yes, and I'm going to use the grade B because it's just slightly lighter than the grade A, the dark amber, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this on it. Not a lot. Of course, some salt when we finish. Now, can you believe all those flavors just on a potato? This is what just makes something so wonderful and delicious and different, and I want you to try it. Just try it. I'm going to put it in this bowl to serve it. But you want to toss it as much as you can to really coat the olive oil all through it. You can garnish it with some parsley, pile it high. Did you ever notice that everything looks great when you make food? Even when you see the Food Channel and stuff, the way they just put the food, it always just comes out looking beautiful. So there you go. There's a great way. You know, you're hungry, you don't know what there is to eat. There happens to be a potato in the fridge, and maybe there's a little herbs, and you usually always have olive oil on hand, and there you go. It's kind of messy, but that's the fun of being in the kitchen. Now, the next thing I'm going to make, I forgot something, salt. Now, you know what, I always keep this on the table because as you can see, I'm just salting the top of this dish and I might get into the middle of it and I'm going to want more salt. So go ahead and always keep it around. The mineral mixture might be great on this too. I'll just put a little bit on there. There you go. Now, again, I want to show you another idea of how to use the pumpkin seed oil. Let's see, we made a couple of sauces on it. We made some eggs with it, some pumpkin seed eggs Benedict. And now we have some leftover vegetables, and I wanted to show you just how to make a quick and easy blended soup. Because this pumpkin seed oil just garnishes any soup. If you want to do a sweet potato or a winter squash soup, just sprinkle a little bit of this on top and it will like transform it. It's fabulous. But what we have here in the blender is a little bit of broccoli and some chard, some Swiss chard that we had left over. We steamed up a little bit of some winter squash, and I've got some carrots in here, and I'm going to put them in. You can see all of these. We just have little pieces of them. We just chunked them up. We had one left, so we just threw everything in the steamer. And you know, some things are going to be better than others, and you can certainly follow recipes, and you're going to make a fabulous soup. But I'm just showing you how easy it is, and don't stop to think, oh, I just don't have all the ingredients, or I don't have time. Because if you have any vegetables left over at all, you can throw them in the blender. They're going to be yummy. They might not be great combination, but if you put the pumpkin seed oil on it, it'll be a great combination. So this is the broth. You want to keep the broth from when you do the steaming. We're going to pour that in. And we'll see how much I have to add here while we blend it. I'm going to probably need to poke around in this a bit. And it might need a little more liquid. Another poke. I want this to be kind of thick. And if you don't use any greens, it's going to come out like a carroty, beautiful squash color, but we're using greens. So. It does look like split pea soup. I wonder what it tastes like. It's not bad. Tastes like vegetable soup. It's actually quite good. You know, if you have a little bit of squash or a potato, it'll transform vegetables. I'm going to make it nice and thick because I think that's going to be a beautiful way to enjoy this soup. And it's too bad that the pumpkin seed oil won't show up just a little bit more on this, because that's what's so beautiful about it, that dark, dark green. I don't know if you can get that on the camera. Yeah, you can see it, huh? All right, let's take this delicious nectar of the pumpkin seed, and we'll just pour that over the top. I'm going to swirl it around, just like that. And I'm not going to tip it over, because if I do, it'll just kind of, does that help? It just looks really beautiful because it's got the dark green river on top with the pumpkin seed oil. This definitely needs some salt. This is an item I could have salted a little bit while it was blending. That would have been good. But I think on top's going to be great. Again, put it on the table. There you go. Those are some quick and easy veggie dishes, using the oils again and using something different and offering some new and different flavors. Bon appetit. Welcome to my sauce segment. This is another one of the areas that started off my career making good food and using essential fatty acids and great flax oils to make rich and delicious sauces and dressings. So we're going to start out with what we call the golden elixir. It is my favorite dressing. It's everybody's favorite dressing. They tell me that when they first try it, that they want to drink it. They love it so much. So we're going to start out by juicing a whole lemon, and that's what the recipe calls for, the juice of a whole lemon. Now, so far, you have seen me prepare vegetables, if you've watched those segments before this one, where we've just taken the oils and some seeds and we've made a sauce instantly, right there as we had the cooked vegetables in front of us. Then this one, we're going to use a little bit more ingredients. We're going to blend them in the blender. I think that's what makes them very, very simple. And you can put them in your fridge, and then you have them ready to go for other meals. Now you can see how I'm squeezing this lemon. I love this reamer. They're lightweight. Might squirt myself. They're lightweight, You don't have to get it out at appliance and plug everything in. And I get a good workout. It's good to put your body into your food, into your making of your food. And if you're doing a lot of lemons, then it's a lot of work. It's really great to have something that's automatic. But for one lemon, this is great. And I just put a strainer. Love these little strainers. Go ahead and scoop all that good lemon in there. And I'll tell you what, because I like the pulp, I like to, let's look how that's dripping. I'm going to go ahead and take these seeds out. Set them right here so that I can use all this great lemon pulp because there's a lot of flavor and it's going to add great texture to the salad dressing. I know I got pulp out there too, but it'd take quite a while to do all that. So now we have the juice of a whole lemon right there. And I'm just going to go ahead and dump that in the blender. I'll put this up here so you can make sure you can see it. So we'll dump the juice of a whole lemon. Now, remember when you make this dressing, you might have a huge lemon and it might be really juicy. And you may not want a big, juicy lemon because it'll make the dressing very, very lemony. So you might have to adjust your other ingredients, or you might love it really lemony. I actually do. So we have the lemon. And then it calls for, we're going to start out with, let's see, the tahini. We call this the golden elixir now, but it used to be called tahini tamari lemon, and those are our basic ingredients. Now I'm using Rejuvenative Foods raw tahini. If you shop for tahini and you accidentally get, or you want to get roasted tahini instead, you're going to have a different flavor of this. It's much different. I prefer to use raw, just like I prefer to use the fresh flax oil and the raw tahini. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons in. Whoops, better put it over there. Okay, so we've got our tahini in there. We want a 1/4 cup of water, which we already have measured here, and a couple teaspoons of kelp. Now, remember when we did the cultured vegetables, or not the cultured vegetables, but the sea vegetables, we made our own mixture, which is right here, of all the different various types of sea vegetables. Well, this one calls for kelp, and I use kelp. And you can buy it in bulk, or you can buy it in a jar from Maine Seacoast Vegetables or many different health food stores. It makes this dressing, and it calls for 2 teaspoons. I don't know what it does, but it doesn't, and it doesn't taste, you know, like fishy or seaweedy. It just brings a quality to it that really enhances it. Some garlic. I'm going to take half of this clove because it's a big one, and I don't like it real garlicky. Just throw that in there. Some tamari. This is going to give it a salty, wonderful flavor, and the recipe calls for 1/3 cup. Now, here's another thing I just want to say in making this dressing. You could use a 1/4 cup, a little less tamari if you wanted, because tamari is very strong, and you don't want to use too much. So depending on how big your lemon is and all of that, just kind of be aware that tamari can take over. It's like tamari rules sometimes. It's fabulous, but you want to be careful you don't use too much. We're going to use Barlean's Essential Woman in this oil, and I'm going to pour it in last. And now we're going to put in the ginger. Now I'm going to use this taller grater, but you can also use a small grater like this. I'm just going to use this one because many people have this, you know, most everybody has a hand grater at home. I love them. I use them for so much, for grating carrots, for grating beets, and for grating ginger. Now, you can see here the small little grate, which is very much like the little grate here. That's what you want to use. That's the one. Now, you can use powdered. I don't measure this. I just do a pile. Now, that's quite a bit. Now, I reach under here, and you grab this delicious juice. See that nice big pile of mushy, mushy ginger? So I just grab it up like this, and I'm going to take it up to the blender and just squeeze it. And look at all that great juice you get out of that. That's the way I like to make my dressings, because this is going to have, you imagine with the nuttiness of the tahini and the flax oil and the lemon. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so now I think we have it all. Whoops. Now, if you didn't have kelp, you could definitely use our mineral mixture that we made. It'll give you the great, same idea. Lid. And I'm going to pour the oil in. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. Ready? I wanted to remind you that the tamari also has quite a salty flavor, so you usually don't need to add any salt, but you know me, I probably always will. So I'm going to taste it. I absolutely recommend that you taste everything before you serve it. God, that's just awesome. I don't know how to describe this dressing. It's like this sour with the lemon and this salty and rich, and it's just great. That's it for the dressing. Now let's talk about storing it. Remember I told you to keep these in a dark bottle and in the fridge? Well, chances are if you were to pour this in a glass bottle and put it in your fridge, you're probably going to drink it before it has any time at all to go rancid or spoil in any way. This dressing keeps for quite a while. But if you wanted to, you could recycle your bottles. Like when I'm done with my Barlean's oils, I rinse them out and get them all clean, and then I dry them, and then I store my bottles in them, and I put my own labels on it to remind me what I made, because we're going to make a couple more dressings, and that way you can have them stored in dark bottles. And incidentally, this is a plastic that's recyclable, and it does not leach in any way. So we're going to go ahead and pour it for now in this pitcher, because we're going to be serving it up and enjoying it. So when we have our salad segment, have you guys been noticing these great bamboo cutting boards? Look at this thing. They call this the Big Kahuna. And you know why? Because it's big, and I want to tell you it's heavy too. Just carry it around, you get your workout during the day. I'm not kidding you, it's heavy. But this is all laminated with an adhesive that does not have any formaldehyde, and they're easy to keep clean. You just use a mild detergent on them. They don't stain, and they are fabulous to work on, and they are so beautiful. And the dishes, I'm sure you've seen them. We've been talking about them throughout the series, but I want to tell you, I'm in love with these things, so I want to keep talking about them. They're just beautiful, and they're so natural. So this sauce is called the Sensual Savory Sauce. And there's various ways you can make it. It's got a lot of different ingredients, but they all add up to sensual savory sauce. And we're going to make it kind of spicy and garlicky. We're going to put some chili powder in it. You don't need to use the garlic or the chili powder. You could make it without those two things. But if you make it with them, then you've got like a little spicy sauce that we can put on vegetables or quinoa or chickpeas or lentils or anything that you cook up. And that's what's great about having these sauces. So I'm going to start with some garlic. It calls for a half a cup of water. We'll go ahead and put that in. And of course we've measured everything out, almost everything, which is called mise en place. And I don't know if you know what that means, but it means that everything's in its place. And it's a French term. So that means that you put everything in your place before you start cooking. And when I became a professional chef, I learned to mise en place, and I wish I would have learned it a long time ago. If you get everything out first, all your ingredients, and then you measure them as you go, or you go ahead and get them out and measure them, and you have them all sitting in one place like cooking shows do, it will change your life. I guarantee you, it's so much easier in the kitchen than getting started and then needing an ingredient, having to go wash your hands. It's so much easier to be prepared. And so I share that with you. It's called mise en place. So we've started with the water and the garlic. It calls for a tablespoon and a half of lemon. There we go. Which was about a half a lemon, incidentally. 1/8 cup, of brewer's yeast. And we're going to put some spices in here, this is oregano and basil are what we're going to use. And this is dried oregano. Of course, you can always use fresh. And this is from my Aunt Mary Ann's garden. And she dried them herself. I mentioned to you, I'm up in the great Northwest. It's been raining for 5 days, and it stopped today. Lucky us. For a while anyway. So here's this is the basil. And the seasoning that we're going to use, the salty flavor, we're going to use Bragg's Liquid Aminos. This is a vegetable, an all-purpose seasoning. It has a very salty flavor, quite a yummy flavor, like a vegetable broth enhanced, like, you know, it's strong. And it comes in a really cute little bottle that's a squirt bottle too, if you just want to just barely put it on top of cooked vegetables. But we've already got this measured out, and it calls for a whole quarter cup. Now what's unique about this sauce, let me put the tamari in first. We're going to use a tablespoon and a half of tamari. Again, I like to use the low sodium, so it's not so salty. And I think you still get the great taste of tamari. I prefer tamari over soy sauce. It calls for a teaspoon and a half. We're going to use the flax oil, the high lignin, Barlean's flax oil. And I put the garlic in. I'm going to put about, I better watch it, this stuff makes me sneeze sometimes. This is chili powder. Look how nice and beautiful and dark that is. I'm going to put about a teaspoon and a half, and then I'm going to taste it, and I might put in more. All your seasonings are different, and you want, when you're using something like curry or any kind of a peppery or you know, strong, spicy flavor, if they've gone rancid or they've gotten old, they're not going to have the same flavor. So that's why you often want to check them, or you want to taste what you do first, because a recipe is only a guideline. Everything always changes, the size of your lemons, there's different tastes. So you always want to taste it before you serve it. So I'm going to put in the oil, I'm going to slightly mix it, and then we're going to put in a whole block of tofu. Now, I'm not a big eater on tofu, but I do enjoy it once in a while, and I particularly enjoy this sauce. It makes it a very high protein sauce with good essential fatty acid, lots of good flavors, and it's wonderful to put on top of vegetables, and it gives you a full meal that's high in protein. And this sauce will last up in your fridge for days, and all you need to do when you take it out is kind of whip it again to get it nice and kind of frothy and fluffy and looking beautiful. So I'm just going to give that a quick little burst. Now remember, we put garlic in there, and they were kind of big chunks, so we're going to want to mix it. And then I'll add the tofu slowly. I'm just going to squish it with my hands, just like this. Now if you wanted to use just a half of a block of tofu, you could use that too, and incidentally it calls for extra firm. So it's extra firm tofu. Sometimes I only use a half a block. I don't want it quite so, you know, intense or dense, thick. Okay, that needs a little help from me, a little stir. Here. You know, I forgot one ingredient, and that's sea kelp. We're going to use a little bit of that again. The recipe calls for about a half a teaspoon. There we go. This is one of the most popular sauces also that I've ever made. People like it on everything. You know, I kind of like the consistency. I don't think I'm going to put the rest of the tofu in. I like it just the way it is. So let me get, I'm going to use this glass right here so that you can see it. So you can see the color of it and everything through this glass. And just pour it in there. Isn't that beautiful? This is so tasty. I want the whole crew to come up here and taste this right now, because it's gonna be great. And then as soon as we change our set here, we're going to do another sauce, and then we'll show you how we can put it all together with some great food. Welcome back to the sauce kitchen. We're going to make one more sauce. This is very different. All three of them are pretty different that we've made so far. This one is called Thai Bliss, And I call it that because it's pretty blissful, and it has a lot of ingredients that kind of have a Thai flavor. Instead of using peanut butter, I use almond butter. So I'm going to put a little ginger in, as you can see. I'm grating it like I did before. Always use the small one because that's where you're going to get it to be juicy. Same thing if you want to grate some carrots and you want them to be kind of juicy. That's the best way to release the juice, and they're a lot easier to chew. So I'll start with the ginger. Let's see, I'm going to use just a little bit more ginger. Because it's a Thai dish, got to have a lot of ginger. This is a pretty intense sauce too. It's got a lot of food value to it. And that's why I like to make these rich and delicious sauces, because they're so full of food value. Lots of ginger. But then they become something that you can put on a salad and feel fulfilled afterwards and feel like you really had a meal instead of just, a little bit of lemon or something. Okay, we're going to set this over here. And we've already juiced our lemon. We've got that right here, and we had the juice of a whole lemon. And then I'm going to use this for my compost container afterwards. All right, this has lots of ingredients, but they all play a little unique part. Many times it's wonderful to have a sweet flavor and then a sour flavor and then a tart and an herbal, and put all those flavors together. Okay, we're going to, let's start out with the nut butter. This is a half a cup of almond butter, and again I used the raw almond butter, and it's all nutty. Look at that. So you can imagine this is a whole half a cup. That's a lot of almond butter. So it's going to be a very rich sauce, very creamy, with a lot of zang to it. Okay. We've got the nut butter, and then we're going to use, this is a third of a cup of flax oil. Now if you didn't have flax oil and you wanted to use olive oil, that would be fabulous too. You can never go wrong with olive oil. It's great, but you might as well be getting your essential fatty acids. And this offers a great flavor, a dimension of flavor of the flaxseed. Okay, this is an eighth a cup of tamari, and you can use namashoyo or any kind of a salty kind of flavoring. This is balsamic vinegar. We're using Newman's here because it's organic. And I like to use things that, products that are very easy to find. So we're going to use an eighth of a cup of balsamic. You might want to add a little extra balsamic too if you feel a need for it. We're going to throw in a clove of garlic. That's simple. And we're going to put in some honey and some maple syrup, both. Let's see. Now, the reason I use these is because sometimes, well, often when a recipe calls for sugar, sugar really plays its place sometime, and you can get wonderful raw sugars that are unrefined. But the flavor of honey, wow. And also the flavor of maple syrup. And we're going to use a grade A, which is a dark amber maple syrup here. And we're just going to use a teaspoon of that because this is going to add a beautiful flavor. I think I should be able to lick the spoon now that I'm done with it. Now that has the honey and the maple syrup together. That's really good. Okay, I think that is just about everything, except we're going to have the water, and we're going to put the water in it to give it the right consistency. But before that, I'm going to place some live salsa. I could have put some kimchi in it, but this salsa is so delicious and has such a kind of bite with it. I'm going to start out with just a nice, good teaspoon of it, and I think this is going to give this a great taste. Okay, let's check it out. Oh, let me add about some of the water. Okay, let's taste it. That's the big test. You know, this dressing, God, that's so good. It comes out absolutely different every time. I'm not kidding you. And that's the fun part of making these. Simple ingredients that you want to keep on hand. You always want to have cultured foods. You could use a different vegetable. This is really good. The almond butter is fantastic because it's alive. This is live. You've got great essential fatty acids. Then you have some flavorings here with your vinegar. A little bit of sweetness. Oh, it's just great. So there we go. This is going to be a great dressing on a salad. Absolutely wonderful. Just some variety of greens. Okay, I'm going to pour this into a container and we'll be back soon.
Whoa, that is rich.
You like it?
Yeah, it tastes like really rich and healthy at the same time.
It is rich. It's a very, very rich sauce, yeah. That's why if you just put it on cooked chard.
Smooth, too.
It's like hippie French.
That'd be a great dressing, hippie French. That's great, Char. Hi, I'm Susan Campbell, author of Essential Cuisine. I want to thank all of the companies that contributed to this project for the products that they make of outstanding quality and integrity and absolutely great taste. I use them in this series because I use them all personally, and I have found that they are worthy of education. They in no way participated in the funding of the series. They were all here by invitation only. And I also want to thank all of the wonderful people who contributed. It was out of their enthusiasm and appreciation for the message that they joined in to make this series come to you. Enjoy. I'm going to be making some sauces and dressings, and I'm going to put on some lentils and some chickpeas and some quinoa. And for those of you who do not know what quinoa is a grain, and it is, I'm going to hold it here in my hand. Can you get a camera on that? Yeah? So this grain is very small, it's kind of round, it's high in protein, it's alkaline to the system, and when it's cooked, it's kind of like rice. It's 2 to 1, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of quinoa, and it puffs up. And it puffs up and is kind of airy, so it's a very light grain. And I'm going to put it here. I've already measured the water. There's 2 cups of water, and we've got 1 cup of quinoa. Chickpeas, lentils, and legumes, they stand in a family all their own. And look at the colors here. These colors are just gorgeous. Now, another, ooh, I'm getting them all over the place. We soaked these lentils. They don't have to soak for so long. They actually only need to soak for about an hour. They're very tiny, really tiny lentils. What I want to say about these lentils also is that they don't take very long to cook at all. The garbanzo beans, chickpeas, they're going to take at least 45 minutes or so to get a nice tender one. You can't eat them sooner, of course, but I like them really tender. And they sometimes digest a little bit easier. The lentils, however, they cook quite rapidly. So we're just going to let these come to a boil, and then we're going to turn them down, let them simmer for a while. And I might add a couple of things to the lentils, just to show you how easy it is. Like we might put some coconut cream in it, and maybe a little bit of curry powder. Maybe we'll throw in some garlic, and you'll just have an instant soup, like an instant curry soup. This only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to make quinoa. That is one of the things that's so cool about it. This is a grain that's high in protein, and it is alkaline, which is very good for you. Always to keep alkaline food so you don't get acidic. Yeah, the coconut cream concentrate will be like putting, you know, like a whole glass of pure coconut milk. But coconut milk does not have all of the fiber and the coconut meat in it. It only is just coconut milk, and it's made from a process, and it's, you know, pasteurized, and it's really less than excellent. What we're going to use is excellent, but we'll show you that a little bit later, because I like to put it in right at the end, because remember what it is? It's raw, and we want to keep it as alive as possible. Smells so good. It's got that curry flavor. These are the lentils, in case you didn't know what I was smelling. I wanted to let you know what I put in here. You remember that I put some curry powder in it and some garlic. Then I put some coconut spread, and I put about 2 whole tablespoons in here to give it just a beautiful consistency. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to create a soup and plate it up with some other foods, and then we'll be serving it after a while. Okay, you'll see more of it later, but I just wanted to let you know what I did with it. Now, the other thing, remember when I talked about salt on top of? This is one thing that I put a little salt in while it's cooking, but not the chickpeas. So I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, sprinkle a little of that in there, let it sit. We're going to stir it up, and we'll serve it up in a bit. Now, here's the chickpeas. These have all been cooked. I'm going to pour them into this bowl. And what I want to show you here, and the reason this seems so simple, it seems hardly worth even having to put this in the series, but it's been such a big hit at all my cooking classes. And the reason it is because people go, what is this? You know, they're just not used to eating chickpeas or garbanzo beans, as they're called. They might eat them in hummus or something like that. But it's not necessary to do all these complicated recipes. If we just take a little bit of coconut oil, now that seems like quite a lot, but I got a big bowl here. Just about a nice whopping teaspoon. Again, you don't need a lot. And I'm just going to just stir this up, let it melt, stir it around, and salt and pepper, and you are ready to go. I have served this at so many of my cooking classes, and I make an hors d'oeuvre out of it, and people say, what is this? What am I eating? It's often been the most favorite thing. This is absolutely divine, and all you do is put this great coconut oil on it, and some of this great Flower of the Ocean salt, and then some freshly ground pepper, and voila, you have an instant dish. I want to show you how I can put these foods together. Remember, they're just simple foods like chickpeas and, you know, quinoa and steamed vegetables, some lentils that were so simple to cook, and some salads, and then these great sauces that you can keep in your fridge at all times. So then you think, oh, I'm in the mood for chickpeas or something like that today. You can just cook them up, maybe a little quinoa, always have some greens on hand, and you've got a quick and delicious and easy meal. Let's see, we opened this Robin Vale wine from Australia. Again, this was imported by Organic Vintners, and this is a blend of Shiraz, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot. It's an oakless, dry, fruity blend of all these varietals. And what's great about this, it's made with all organically grown grapes. It's always a mouthful. It's a beautiful wine. You know, something that if you can check out Organic Vintners' website, you will find that these wines are very affordable. All of them are under $20. Many of them are around the $10 to $13 range, so you get a great bargain. I'm just going to let this breathe a little bit, then I'm going to taste it. So, what do we have here? I'm going to put my dressings over here to the side. Now, let's start with this one. This is the chickpeas. And remember, we put the coconut oil on them. We've got just plain old quinoa. It was not cooked with salt. And then we have some cauliflower, little carrots, and a piece of a potato here. So the first thing I like to do is, let's put a sauce on this. I think we're going to take the savory sauce, and I'm going to spoon it just so, well, let me try and pour it. I just don't want to pour too much. But this sauce, remember, this is the one that's made with the tofu. It's quite rich. So we're going to take it just across the vegetables, not too much of it. And I'm not going to put it on the chickpeas because we already put coconut oil on them. And we don't want the sauce to take over from the entire meal. You want something that stands on its own a little bit. Now, remember the mineral mixture we made? This is where you want to use it, on your salads, on your meals. And I personally would just sprinkle a ton of that all over the place because I love it. It makes a wonderful salty flavor. We might still want to add a little bit of salt because remember we didn't add any salt, particularly on the chickpeas. You've already got a salt in the dressing, so particularly on the chickpeas. But this is how you make your meal. This is when you add these condiments. This is what makes it so good. And I'm also going to put one of the cultured vegetables on it. I'm going to try this new sauerkraut. You know what, this one's not open, so I'm going to save that for a second. And I'm going to put, this is the kimchi, this is the sea vegetable combination. Remember what I said earlier, you always want something alive with your meal. So let's put some of this wonderful kimchi. If you want a lot, go for it. Even if you have a teaspoon, it'll make a huge difference because it has a wonderful digestive benefit. So I'm going to put a couple of spoonfuls on this on each side. You know, there's been a couple of times where I've sat down for a meal like this, and then I'll get up and think, you know, what did I forget? And I'll realize I didn't have any cultured vegetables. After a while, your body will know, and it'll say, cultured vegetables, I need cultured vegetables. So, there you go. That's how you can dress these simple foods. Now we're going to take this one. I'm going to set this back here. And this one, we plated up. Beautiful for you. So you can see, I know you probably can't see inside the bowl, but it's the lentils. It's this beautiful soup, and if I tip it, it'll probably spill, but you can see it a little bit. Oh yeah. See how nice and thick it is? And I can't believe how good it is with that coconut in there. I mean, it really doesn't need anything. Remember, I put a little bit of salt. I'm going to use the lemon dressing for this one because I think it will complement this very well. And we're just going to sprinkle that dressing on there, and that's all that's going to need. We're going to take a little bit of our mineral mixture. Can't forget that. We'll sprinkle that on both of these. And we're going to take a little bit of salt on our vegetables. And, whoops. Remember our pepitas that we popped? We'll sprinkle those on top too because that'll make the salad yummy. Now, if you make these pumpkin seeds, make a bunch of them ahead of time, put them in a dish with I like to use a jar, and you put a tight container on them, and then they stay for ages. Ages, I really mean that. Okay, I'm going to show you one other thing I think is fun to do, and that's maple syrup granules. Now you think, oh, I must be out of my mind. All meals, we like something sweet, we like something sour, we like different little flavors. Often I'll just take a little bit of these maple syrup, or granulated maple sugar is basically what it is, and maybe just sprinkle it on one item. And you'll just get just a little burst of sweetness. I think it would be great on these vegetables. And you'd be surprised what that adds to a meal. Sometimes I even make potatoes and chop them up in a bowl with some parsley, and I'll add a scoop of honey to it. And it was an Ayurvedic doctor that taught me to eat that way. And I found that it's quite enjoyable. When he first did it, I said, honey on top of potatoes? Oh, we had a few other things going for it too, but it was great. I think you feel very complete. Sometimes, you know, after a meal, people want dessert or they want something sweet. And some of my friends, when we're eating a lot of raw food dishes, our dessert is a giant spoonful of raw honey. And it's quite satisfying. You'd be surprised. Alrighty, so what do we have left? Oh, I have one more dish here on this beautiful bamboo plate. Oh dear, this one went without cultured vegetables, and we do not want that to happen. I'm going to give this one the beet, cultured vegetables. So we'll add a beautiful color to this dish. Because this is a little smaller dish, I just have the kale that we steamed with the coconut oil, remember on that? And then here's the quinoa, which is plain, absolutely nothing on it. If I weren't putting a sauce on this and I didn't have any sauces made, I would pour a little flax oil on it, or a little coconut oil, or a little olive oil. Put a little salt, a little mineral mixture, and you're ready to go. But we are going to give this a tiny little dose of the Thai Bliss. And we don't want to overpower it because these foods are going to stand on their own very well. We'll give it a little bit of mineral mixture and a little bit of salt on the veggies. And let's just get decadent and have a sprinkle of the maple sugar. And there you go, there's another meal. So many different variations you can do here. And when you're using these sauces like this Thai Bliss, remember this has a lot of almonds in it, and almonds are high in essential fatty acids, they're high in protein, they have a good carbohydrate balance to it, carbohydrate and protein and fat. So it's a great food source and it'll make you feel very complete. So I'm going to take these away and then I'm going to bring our salad back and toss it, and we'll be ready to have our feast. Don't you love it when you go into a restaurant and they say, fresh ground pepper, please? I always go, yes. I'll take a lot. Now look at the different flavors we use there, and these are just what I call condiments. Okay, here's our beautiful salad. This has got greens from Earthbound Farms. They're in Northern California, and they're the ones that make the wonderful greens that are all washed and bagged for you, and they stay fresh for so long. We've got arugula in here and mixed baby greens. And we took a vote tonight, and everybody decided that they wanted Thai Bliss on the salad, so that's what we're going to use. And I'm just going to pour this beautiful dressing all over the top here. Incidentally, I'm just going to put it right in the middle. Oh, let's just put it all over the place. These salad mixers are also bamboo. And we're just going to bring those out like that. We're going to put lots of pumpkin seeds on it. Lots of them. Incidentally, these pumpkin seeds are great with the lemon dressing. They're great with everything. They're great if you're just sitting there nibbling on your own. Mineral mixture, lots. And there you go, you just have a beautiful salad. And you know, if you want extra salt, always put a little bowl of salt on your table because some people like more. And don't be afraid of it, enjoy it. Bon appetit.
So this is the quinoa. Get a bigger spoon. This is the quinoa with, which one is that?
With the savory sauce.
It's so good. Oh my god.